all of the beneficiaries would be the most well-off graduates. The bottom 50% wouldn't gain anything, and in the view of the IFS, it would make no difference to participation.
OK, there's a certain irony, isn't there, in a party which had promised to abolish tuition fees altogether, now sort of fighting to keep them at 9,000?
We're not fighting to keep them, Andrew, but we've had two interesting discussions earlier on today about the importance of investment in the early years and the pupil premium. And the truth is that if you want to make, in an era of austerity where we're still having to make cuts, the biggest difference to education, the earlier you can invest, the more difference that makes.
So you'd rather the money went there?
Yes. Young people go on to education when they get the right skills at 16.
Okay,
if they don't, no system can save them.
Nicky Morgan, do you rule out lifting the current £9,000 cap in the next Parliament?
The Conservative Party is very happy with the level that it's at, and it's bringing money into universities. I think it's good for students.
So you rule out raising the current cap of 9,000?
Well, we're very happy with the level. It's not something
I'm happy about lots of things, but I would like some more.
Do
you rule it out?
We're not something we're looking at all.
Not looking at, so you could still do it?
It's not our policy. It's not our policy. I mean, why would we want to raise it? It's working.
I don't know, you tell me.
It's working. Well, we wouldn't want to raise it because it's
working. So you wouldn't raise it?
What it's bringing in is more money into universities. Students are getting financial support and only paying it back, obviously, when they're earning over £21,000. And it's good for, it's adding up for the taxpayer too.
So you mentioned the financial stresses. Isn't the reality that for families, the real pressure is in meeting the costs of rent, of food, of books, of travel for their children? And none of you are offering anything to help families with that. And it is those hard-working families that you all talk about.
I think we've committed
often.
We have committed to look at the maintenance loan. I think as a member of Parliament representing a large university, I would agree that actually those are the issues, and that one of the things being making it clear to students that they're not having to pay the tuition fees, but there is help available. And I think
Tristram is going
to raid the bursaries fund in order to pay for his career advice.
I'm not talking about bursaries.
Well,
I'm talking about
difference to people paying.
I'm talking about ordinary families who are having to find a lot of money up front to pay for their children to go to university, to pay for them to fulfil their
bursaries that universities offer are very important.
But they go to the lowest income families. We're talking about people where you might have two parents in work, still really struggling to meet the thousands of pounds they've got to find. So what are you offering to them?
But the other point, actually,
I'll come to you in a minute, Tristram.
The other issue, I mean, I absolutely understand, because the conversations I have with my own constituents about that, there is help available, and of course people are going to go on to be graduates.
But not if you earn more than £42,000, both parents together.
Which is a lot, particularly outside the southeast.
Two families.
But the other point is the alternatives. We have seen under this government 2 million more apprenticeships, and that is giving a real alternative to earn while you are learning. It's absolutely revolutionary for many students in this country for whom university might not be the right thing, or it might be a decision they take to study later on.
So 10%. The Institute for Fiscal Studies says there's been a 10% reduction in spending on further education colleges. Now, that is a lot of people's children who are aged 16 to 19, and basically you have decided to spend less on their children than you have on someone whose child is going to a sixth form in a school.
Is that true?
Are you simply valuing different children?
Bang goes the social mobility.
Well, absolutely.
Well, you had the economy debate yesterday, so I'm not going to rehearse that, the difficult decisions that we have taken over the course of the past 5 years. But we have invested more in early years and at the start of primary school, because that's where the difference is really made in people's educational attainment right the way through the system. But we have also put more money into apprenticeships, £400 million. So FE colleges, I was at one in Oxfordshire earlier this week, and they were talking about the money, the attention they are now giving.
But a lot
and that is making a huge
funding.
It is making a huge difference. We have had to make some very
I'm just pointing out that you have Tristram Hunt, and then I come to David Laws, because you may want to respond to him.
Okay.
Even though tuition fees went up to 9,000, to many people's surprise, it actually didn't deter kids from poorer backgrounds going to university. Indeed, the percentage has risen. So would it not be more sensible, if there's any money around, not to cut tuition fees back to 6,000, because you don't pay these fees until after you leave university anyway. You don't pay them back, and if you don't earn a lot of money, you probably will never pay them back. But as Bramwell was saying, what really deters poorer students from going is the cost of being at university. If there's any money around, shouldn't you be putting it into the maintenance of living at university for the poorer students.
You're absolutely right, and that's why the Labour Party has plans to increase the maintenance grant by £400, Bramwell. So we do have
£400 for families who are paying thousands.
We do have plans to support those people going to university, but we also think that thanks to the grotesque misleading of the British people by the Liberal Democrats at the last election, we went from having a tuition fee system which was one of the lowest in the world to almost overnight one of the highest. And we are concerned that that's putting off young people from Stoke-on-Trent, from other parts of the country, from non-traditional university backgrounds going into university. So it's great that more young people from disadvantaged backgrounds are going into university, but the Labour Party's ambitious, and we want to see even more going.
All right, David Laws, I promise I'd come back to you.
On 2 points. Firstly, on Tristram making this party political point about tuition fees.
Well, you misled the British public.
We at least had the explanation for changing
let him answer.
We at least had the explanation that we were in a coalition where the other coalition party and Labour, incidentally, didn't agree with our policy. The Labour Party, let me gently remind you, Tristram, let down voters twice in the past by breaking a pledge not to introduce tuition fees and then by tripling them, having said that they wouldn't increase them further. So I'm not taking any lessons from you. Coming back to the issue about 16 to 19 education, this is a really important area. We've not been able to protect it under this coalition government. It now has come to the point where 16 to 19 education providers are finding it very difficult. That is why we have made a pledge to protect 16 to 19 funding throughout the next Parliament. It's another area where the Conservatives are saying it'll be unprotected and there will be massive cuts, and that is another big difference.
Let me come to the Greens.
No, it's not. It's actually the whole Parliament.
No, it's
the
not.
whole Parliament.
It's not.
I can see
it's
this.
in our manifesto.
I can see this coalition was going well in the final days here. Let me come to the Greens.
No school children watching.
On the Greens. Now, you're boasting that you would cancel tuition fees and you would also cancel all the outstanding student debt. How much would that cost?
The cost on tuition fees, for example, would be £4.5 billion in year 5 of the Parliament. Now, OK, there's an indraw of breath. This is a lot of money. But again, it comes back.
What about the student debt?
Well, the student debt, if anyone thinks we're going to see very much of that money again, and you think about all the costs of over...
We are going to see quite a lot of it again.
Well,
I
think you'll see the collection of the student loan portfolio is looking more...
So it brings in around about £2 billion a year. So you're going to cancel the fees. You get no income from that. You'd have to top up university funding.
Yes.
You then have to make up for the loss of the student fees being paid back.
Yes.
I mean, you're green because you do believe in magic money trees, don't you?
It is not magic money tree to say that... Can you just let me speak for once, please? It's not a magic money tree if you're talking about bringing the GDP expenditure in the government sector, the amount we spend on public services, up to the level of Germany. That is not the economics of madness. That is about saying the people in this country deserve to have that investment in public services. The money is there. We are the 7th richest country in the world.
May I offer a positive
Well, actually, we're the 5th richest now, so I'll just bring you up to date. So you could probably afford to do even more with that money tree. Jonathan Arnott, UKIP says that students taking the STEM subjects, which are the things that we still have a lot of ground to make up on, science, technology, engineering, maths, medicine, they wouldn't have to repay the tuition fees, you say. But why don't you value historians or geographers or linguists that we need, or even, dare I say it, economists?
Let me start by explaining where we're coming from on this. We've at the moment got 47% of graduates doing jobs which don't actually require a degree. We've got £44,000 average debt on leaving university. We're not necessarily training in this system the skills that we actually need. So what UKIP is saying is we'd love to be able to be in a position to have that magic money tree, that £23.4 billion a year that the Greens seem to think they can fund, but we're not. And so you've got to start somewhere. And you start with the skills that we need to make Great Britain a modern world leader in education. That's starting with the STEM subjects, and I think we're absolutely right to start there. Yes, we'd love to be able to do more, but sadly, the financial situation that has been caused by all the establishment parties in this debate...
But just on that, the Bank of England estimates that quantitative easing, that single policy, put over £100 billion of money into the richest 5% of this country. £100 billion.
Because it pumped up the asset values of people. already had assets.
Exactly. Now, with that sort of money, talking about a wealth tax is not a money tree. It's
But
simply
James,
saying
you can't
the money has
tax
gone in.
people
We'd like
more
to...
than they earn. And if you've got a 60%, if you've got a 60% top rate of income tax, scrap the upper earnings limit on national insurance.
I think we've.
And your wealth tax. If you've got a doctor earning £200,000 a year with 10 million of assets, they will pay £249,000 out of their
$200,000. A doctor with £2 million of assets should say fine.
It's an interesting argument, but I think we've moved on to another subject. So it's a good time now to bring this debate to an end as we come to the end of our time. And how we finish is that we'll now hear from the parties making their final pitches on why their party should be trusted on education. They've only got 30 seconds to do it in, and we'll do it in reverse order, starting with Tristram Hunt. No, you can say where you are.
Sorry. I'm sorry.
We don't want to tax you too much.
No. Exactly.
I use that metaphorically.
I think the challenge in education policy in the next Parliament is how to ensure that those communities who are feeling left behind by the challenge of globalisation, former coalfield communities, coastal towns, shire counties, how they have access to high-quality teachers, great head teachers, the investment they need to succeed in the modern world. And how we also have a system of mass education which gets everyone where they need to be in terms of literacy and numeracy and the foundational subjects, but also reintroduces the creativity, the innovation, the enjoyment, the happiness, the wonder of education and learning, which I think we've lost in recent years.
All right. Jonathan Arnott.
In this era of four-party politics, every vote counts, and UKIP is leading the way. We're the only party whose sums add up, whose manifesto has been independently costed by a respected think tank. So we're not promising you the earth, but a future you can trust. It's not about paperwork, targets or bureaucracy, but training our young people in the skills they need to make Great Britain a modern world leader.
Thank you. James Humphreys.
Well, I think we've heard my colleagues here talking about the nature of the problem, but what they're offering in return is so timid. It's timidity on a monumental scale. If we're serious about improving the life chances of young people in this country, we have to invest. It's no good simply saying the money isn't there. The money is there if you want it to be there. If you care about equality and you care about education, we've set out ways it can be done.
David Laws.
Well, Liberal Democrats are the party that is putting education first as our big priority. In government, we did deliver the front-page manifesto pledge to introduce a £2.5 billion pupil premium to give extra help to young people from the most disadvantaged backgrounds. In the next government, we would spend £2.5 billion more than Labour and £5 billion more than the Conservatives. And this will enable us to employ the quality teachers we need to give every child a chance and to create both a strong economy and a fair society.
Thank you for that. And Nicky Morgan.
As a parent, what I want is every child to have a good local school to attend, which helps them to fulfil their potential. The Conservative Party wants every child to have the best possible start in life. At the end of the last Parliament, we have 1 million more children in schools rated good or outstanding, 100,000 more 6-year-olds reading confidently, and more children taking GCSEs that are valued by universities and employers. We believe in securing Britain's future. That means having excellent schools and a highly educated workforce.
Thank you. And that brings our debate to an end for today. My thanks to all of our guests and, of course, to Branwen Jeffries for joining us today. That's it from the Daily Politics election debates this week. But on Monday, we turn to we've done foreign affairs, to home affairs. I'm going to be joined by sometimes they do merge into one. I'm joined by the Home Secretary, Theresa May, by the Shadow Home Secretary, Yvette Cooper, and others to talk about immigration, crime, and plenty more besides. And don't forget, the Daily Politics election special is back tomorrow at midday. You are getting value for your licence fee, you know, from this team, from all of us. Bye-bye.